I hear you, and I like what you're saying, Julia. And in that sense, whether it's this exercise of choosing 5 people, or whether it's you and I talking, or whether it's your exercise of talking to people who've got 5 people, it's essentially a set of characters in a dynamic narrative, right? Going back to the idea of the book, this itself is a form of book, narrative, play, drama. And that, I think, that's the essence of all of this, really, isn't it? That we're not only our characters to ourselves, but we're part of a broader plot because of all the characters, and the whole thing is held together by the various relationships. And a bit like every time you read a book, every time you look at this, every time you wake up, the story's different again. And I think in that sense, it not only creates a sort of extraordinary richness, it also takes people out and away from themselves. I mean, it's a whole different podcast about what I think is the modern curse of introspection and the individual. Actually, this idea of everybody else takes you out of yourself. And I think if there was only one thing I'd ever say to people, it's just the biggest single thing I think anyone can do is think about others, not yourself.
Yeah. Again, I'm so glad you picked up on that, because that's exactly what this is. I've done lots of introspective work, know thyself and all that, but to pause and actually think about the great people that you've experienced along the way, it's a humbling thing. It's a way of giving thanks and gratitude, and actually stopping for a minute and going, gosh, I'm very, very fortunate. I've met some, to use your word, great caliber people that have, this idea that that anybody is self-made, no matter what level of success they make, is absolute rubbish. Nobody is. You can plot it all the way back, or even just to the people you've met recently. There's always somebody else that brings you something.
Yeah, and just I agree with all of that. There's absolutely. I think I'd add one thing to that, which is these relationships and these interactions are ends in themselves, right? I mean, I think there's a lot of things about outcomes, what's successful or not successful in the modern world.
Yeah.
But just by interacting with these people, that's enough.